In weightlifting, speed under the bar is often what determines if a lift is successful or not. In this video, you will learn everything you need to know to improve your speed under the bar. What exactly is speed under the bar? It's basically the amount of time an athlete needs to go from full extension in a lift, like a snatch or a clean, to the receiving position, like the front squat or the bottom of the overhead squat. The faster we can do that, the more speed under the bar we have. Now, why exactly is this important? Having good speed under the bar maximizes the weight you will be able to lift, and also it will make your lifting more efficient. And this allows you to save energy when moving large loads or moving lighter loads more efficiently. Let's go into some of the common problems that hold people back from having good speed under the bar. The first one we usually observe in beginners is an excessive use of the arms during the second pull. Don't get me wrong, you want to use the arms and shoulders to pull yourself down and around the barbell, but this needs to happen at the correct time. And correct time means we don't want to use arms and shoulders before the third pull or the turnover has started. During the second pull, where we actually want to accelerate the barbell, we predominantly want to use the hips and the legs driving through the floor to create the upward momentum of the barbell. And if we initiate a pull with the arms here, this will usually kill the momentum and slow the lift down. Another common problem is a hesitation that happens in the extended position before going down into the receiving position. And this usually is a timing issue that can be trained. We will give you some drills and exercises later on to deal with that specifically. The final problem that holds you back from moving under the barbell as fast as possible is a fear of committing to the bottom position. And this might have several reasons. Maybe you're not experienced in the position, so you haven't spent enough time there to really be confident, or you're restricted by mobility, so your body still needs more time to adapt to the bottom position. And we have another video talking about mobility exercises that help you with your ankle mobility, maybe your hips, or your squat in general, that you will find up here. So now, how exactly do we develop speed under the bar? It always starts with being intentional with your lifting. I've already hinted to this in the beginning of the video. You want to be as proactive during the so-called turnover or third pull as possible. That means you want to actively use your arms to pull yourself down and around the barbell. This doesn't only apply to the clean, but also to the snatch. Another key element of having good speed under the bar is correct timing. I've alluded to this earlier as well, saying that some athletes might hesitate in a top position, and this is certainly something we want to avoid. As soon as we hit our final extension, we already want to start moving under the barbell. As a general concept for weightlifting, we apply force to the barbell with our hips and legs pushing through the floor that makes the barbell move into an upward trajectory. Even though we stop acting on the barbell, due to inertia, it will continue to move up. And that's when we start pulling ourselves down and around. But it needs to happen at the exact perfect time, and that is when you hit the extension at the top. The last thing we want to work on is our positional awareness. That means we want to be really confident in our positions, especially in the bottom position. And that means having the flexibility required to get into the positions, while also having the strength at the same time to support these positions under load during a snatch or a clean. And this is something that takes a lot of practice and time to develop, and is best done with the drills and exercises we're going to show you next. The first exercise is more like a technical primer that you would do before your actual lifting session, and this is either a tall snatch or tall clean. We can do this with both exercises, and what we're going to demonstrate first is the tall snatch. Here we're going to use maybe 20 to 30% of your most recent maximum for the snatch, and this can be done as power or squat. We're going to receive the bar in the squat position just because we usually want to optimize speed under the bar there the most, and as I said before, this can be applied to power as well. So the idea here is to be as active as possible and think of pulling yourself down and around the barbell to get into the bottom position, as we explained earlier. So Anais is going to pick up the barbell now with her regular snatch grip. The barbell is never going to leave her hips, and the arms are nice and extended, and she's just standing in this tall position. That's why it's called tall snatch as well. Now she's shifting her weight slightly towards her toes and is going to drop and pull under into the receiving position. Repeat for 2 more reps. And as you can see, the arms and shoulders kind of initiate the movement by actively pulling under, and then she's focusing on moving under the bar as fast as possible. And relax. The same drill can be done with the clean. And here we're just using the same principles, but apply it with a narrower grip and receiving the barbell in the front rack position compared to the overhead position. So now Anais is going to demonstrate 3 repetitions of the tall clean. But as I said, it's the same principles. We also have long and nice relaxed arms. The barbell is touching our thighs and we're standing in the tall position. Now she's shifting the weight to her toes slightly and it's going to drop under and receive the barbell in the front rack position. 2 more reps. Again here, try to initiate the movement by pulling yourself down and around the barbell. And relax. This isn't necessarily a standalone exercise, it is more something that we would do before we go into our main lifting. As I said in the beginning, it's what we would consider a technical primer. So we would recommend doing 3 sets of 3 and then continue with your actual clean work or snatch work. And that could be then building to a heavy single or just your working sets for that particular day. The next drill we're going to show you introduces a bit more complexity and degrees of freedom, and that means we can also use a bit more heavier weights because we will actually have some time to accelerate the barbell upwards before we're moving under. But we still try to keep it as simple as possible so you don't have to think about many things when doing this exercise. And now we're working from the high hang. This means for the snatch, the barbell is still remaining in our hips and we just flex at the knee and the hip slightly. And then all we have to think about is like driving our legs through the floor for this final part of the extension and then drop under. So as I said, it's a bit more complex than the tall snatch or the tall clean, but it allows us to use a bit more weight so we get a slightly different stimulus from it, and this can actually be used as your main exercise for the day, as the weights can be relatively heavy. Anais is going to demonstrate 3 repetitions of the high hang snatch now. And here she's going to just bend slightly at the hip and the knee, keep the barbell in contact with her hips by pressing it back up. And now she's going to extend and drop into the snatch. 2 more reps. Barbell stays in the hips, knees and hips just bend slightly. And last one. As you can see, this is a very good drill to not only develop the final extension of the legs and the hip and the hips, but also to really think about pulling yourself down and around and moving as fast as possible before receiving the barbell in the bottom of the squat. This can also be done with the clean, and we're going to show you a couple of reps of that one now. So here, same things apply. We have a narrow grip, we have the barbell at the hip, knees and hips bend ever so slightly. And now we have the final extension and drop under the bar. Also here you try to be as active as possible as with the snatch, that you actually use your arms to pull yourself into the receiving position. And final rep. And relax. As I said, this can be used as your main exercise, but also as a technical primer as the previous drill we showed you. This just depends on how much weight you're comfortable using for these exercises. But something like this we would usually program for, let's say, 3 to 5 sets of 1 to 3 repetitions, and you can work up to relatively heavy weights on this. The last drill we're going to show you is more specific to the snatch, and it's called a drop snatch. And this can be further developed into a snatch balance, for example. The difference here is for the snatch balance, we have a small dip and drive before we go under the bar. That allows us to work with relatively heavy weights. Whereas with the drop snatch, it's comparable to the tall snatch, but even simpler because we start with the barbell already from behind the neck. And then we just have to focus on pressing up. This is a great drill for beginners to develop the positions and also confidence in the bottom position or receiving position of the snatch, as it's incredibly complex and has high mobility requirements. So Anais is going to demonstrate 3 reps of the drop snatch now. Here you want to use the exact same grip as you would use for your snatch. Then it's important that you have your elbows right below the barbell and keep your arms relatively nice and relaxed. In the same fashion to the tall snatch, we shift the weight to the toes ever so slightly, and then we drop down while punching up and receiving the barbell in the bottom of the overhead squat. 2 more reps. Also here the arms are active. That means we're actively pressing ourselves under the barbell. And relax. This drill usually is a technical primer as well. That means we would do it before our actual snatch session. If we want to use more weights and just think about confidence in the bottom of the squat with something that is close or even equivalent to the weights we're going to use in the snatch, then that would be more the snatch balance, and that would be more like a accessory exercise for the snatch that we would do after or as a standalone exercise for the session. Okay, now we're going to conclude the video with a final pro tip. When you do weightlifting movements, film yourself. For filming yourself, we usually recommend a front angle of 45 degrees. So you can see both the frontal plane and a bit from the side. That allows you to analyze your bar path while also seeing if you're able to do the lift with correct timing. If you would like to see how we implement these drills and exercises into our programming, we would recommend the program Power. You can find the link in the description below, and it has everything you need to improve your weightlifting. Thanks for watching and see you in the next one.